The top stories tonight in Y News. The health department tells Filipinos there's no returning to what used to be and that we must learn how to live in the new normal.
Malacanang says President Rodrigo Duterte should decide on quarantine classifications without pressure from the public. Meanwhile, the Octa research team understands the government's position on quarantine classifications, but will keep on making data public.
The Labor Department says that some employers seek help in order to comply with the law to give their employees their 13th month pay. But employers must pass certain criteria to receive help. Some lawmakers express concern over the alleged influx of foreign workers in several government infrastructure projects.
An American expert in infectious diseases warns of an autumn surge of new cases and deaths in the United States due to a resurgent COVID-19.
And Australia joins NASA and other partner countries on international cooperation for space exploration. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Wednesday, October 14, 2020. I am Harleen Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news, the Department of Health tells Filipinos that there's no returning to what used to be, and we must learn to live in the new normal. Our health correspondent, Aiko Miguel, will join us tonight to tell us why live. Yes, Aiko?
Yes, Harleen, based on the World Health Organization's report, there have been rising levels of COVID-19 fatigue in European countries that came months of lockdowns, uncertainty, and disruptions to normal life. Now, according to our health department, Filipinos are also experiencing fatigue amid this pandemic. Health officials say it is important to accept the situation now, or the so-called new normal. Here is Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, the spokesperson of the Department of Health.
Ang lagi ho natin pinapaalala, hindi na po tayo babalik sa dati, no? Kaya nga po may tinatawag tayo na new normal. At ito pong new normal na ito po yung nagbibigay sa atin ng kasiguruhan, ano, na kahit na meron pong virus dito po sa ating environment, we will still be protected because if we are going to comply with this minimum health standard.
The DOH adds that fatigue can also be eased or avoided if people see a decline in new COVID-19 cases. Here is Undersecretary Vergere again.
Makikita ho natin, ano, and that is something that people will expect, no? As you gradually open your economy, meron hong magkakaroon po ng pagtaas ng mga kaso kung sakasakali. And that is the expectation. Pero kung tayo po lahat ay magtutulong-tulong and we can enforce the compliance to these minimum health standards, hopefully, hindi po mangyayari sa atin itong ganito.
The government is also aware that lockdown should not last long as recommended by the World Health Organization. Harleen.
Aiko, does the DOH have any updates on reinfection? There's this publication that reports the first case of reinfection in Nevada, USA.
Yes, Harleen, that report is of a 25-year-old man with no underlying health conditions. Reportedly, he got infected with COVID-19 in April 2020 and underwent quarantine and later on tested negative for the virus. But unfortunately, after 48 days, he tested positive again. Aside from the reinfection case in Nevada, American experts are also studying possible reinfection cases in Hong Kong, Belgium, and Ecuador. Now, according to our DOH, they have been gathering information on possible reinfection cases in the country. Even the severity of such cases are being looked into. Arlene, the DOH reminds the public not to be complacent because even COVID-19 survivors don't have an immunity task force because anybody can be infected with the virus. Even the World Health Organization is saying that as of now, we don't have enough evidence about immunity to COVID-19. Arlene.
All right, thank you so much. Aiko Miguel reporting live.
Meanwhile, Malacanang says President Rodrigo Duterte should decide on quarantine classifications without pressure from the public. Meanwhile, the OCTA research team understands the government's position on quarantine classifications, but will keep on making other data public. Our Palace correspondent, Rosalie Cos, explains why.
Malacanang defends its statement yesterday that the OCTA research team should refrain from publicizing its recommendation on quarantine classifications of certain areas in the country. According to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, the interagency task force itself does not make public its recommendations but instead forwards them to President Rodrigo Duterte and then allows him to make a decision. The palace official adds recommendations made publicly would generate public opinion, which could in turn influence the president. Malacanang says President Duterte should be allowed to make the right decision without pressure from the public. This issue came after OCTA research team encouraged the government to implement stricter quarantine classification or localized lockdown in certain areas in the country such as Bawan, Batangas, Calbayog, Western Samar, and General Trias, Cavite because of increased attack rate of COVID-19 in the last 2 weeks. According to Secretary Roque, the president should be allowed leeway in deciding what is best for the country. Meanwhile, the OCTA research team understands the government's position on quarantine classifications but will keep on publicizing other data it gathers, such as trend analyses, as well as recommendations like intensifying testing in particular areas. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Star-rated hotels in Metro Manila slowly open to the public for staycation activities. The Tourism Department encourages tourists and families to spend time in hotels for leisure. Let's find out why from Asher Kadapan Jr.
Hotels in Metro Manila gradually reopened for leisure activities, particularly staycations, months after the implementation of community quarantine restrictions. With the approval of the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, the Department of Tourism has allowed staycations after persistent requests from hotel operators. But health and safety protocols against COVID-19 should strictly be observed.
People living in NCR, they want to go out and they want to have a sense of normalcy. And staycation is nothing new. They've been doing it in Singapore, in Japan, and it's very safe. That's why we follow the minimum health and safety protocols.
Some 10-star rated hotels, including those under 4- and 5-star categories, already accept staycations. Although pregnant women and persons with comorbidity are not allowed to go on staycation, the rest of the family may do so because it is open to all ages.
Filipinos, diba, laging travel as a family. So when we mention the staycation that we remove the age restrictions, masaya syempre yung mga pamilya kasi they really want to be with their apos. So at least this is a good chance for them.
The Tourism Department hopes that the safety measures in hotels will bring back customers' confidence and go out of their homes while in the new normal. With the gradual resumption of staycation and other leisure activities, Secretary Puyat looks forward to the revival of the economy as workers get their jobs back.
2019, tourism employed 5.7 million people. As of today, 4.8 million have already been affected. Either they lost their jobs or the salaries got lower. So, we really need to restart. We need to give jobs back.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Establishments collect personal data from individuals who enter their premises as part of the contact tracing protocols in this time of pandemic. But the government probes on business establishments in connection with contact tracing data. Ray Pelayo tells us why.
Because of reported mishandling of contact tracing data, the National Privacy Commission is conducting compliance check among establishments. NTC Commissioner Raymond Liboro said one of the reports is that a customer received promotional and marketing materials after he gave his personal details to an establishment.
Maaari ka mag-issue ng mga compliance orders sa kanila at ano ba nilalaman ng compliance orders, no? Halimbawa, kailangan na ng baguhin ng mga pulisiya o dagdagan nila ang seguridad, no? Mga bagay na ika nga, no, na kailangan nilang tuptin at kung di nila gagawin ay doon maaaring magkaroon ng mas malaki silang problema.
The NPC also reminds that contact tracing data should be removed after a month.
Bakit yun naman itatago ng 2 taon yung personal data? Kayo ang sinasabi nyo ay kailangan lamang ito for contact tracing at maliwanag yung tagubilin dyan ng DTI 30 days lamang na dapat tinatago yan. Pagkatapos nun ay kailangan na yan burahin o sirain para hindi na magamit muli.
The official also highlights that extra precaution should be done with materials used for recording data such as logbooks.
Kapag yung logbook, nakatiwangwang lang niya siya doon, di mo tinatakpan, yung maaaring nagsusulat doon, nakukunan na niya ng larawan yung buong pahina, nandun ng mga phone numbers, maaari na magamit sa kung anong paraan. Yun yung mga pinapaalala natin.
Violators may be face a fine of up to 5 million pesos and imprisonment of up to 6 years. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the country's Department of Health says that nearly 2,000 new cases were reported today, raising the total confirmed cases of coronavirus infection in the Philippines to 346,536. The Philippines ranks 18th among countries with the most number of coronavirus cases. The National Capital Region logged the most additional cases with 624. The total active cases further increased from yesterday to 46,227. Among those, 84.5% are in mild condition, while 10.5% are asymptomatic. We have lost 78 more patients, but through our fervent prayers, medical interventions, and sacrifices of our medical frontliners, 579 more people have won their battle against the invisible enemy. That brings the total recoveries nationwide to 293,860. That's the 17th highest number of recoveries around the world. Thanks be to God.
Let's now take a closer look at the updated count of coronavirus cases around the world. The COVID-19 pandemic has now reached a total of more than 38.1 million confirmed cases in 189 countries, regions, and sovereignties. That's after almost 270,000 new cases were reported across various nations from yesterday. The fast-spreading disease has claimed over 1.08 million lives, with more than 4,000 new death cases in the last 24 hours globally, while nearly 26.5 million patients across the globe have recovered from the new coronavirus infection. Thanks be to God. The Labor Department says that some employers seek help in order to comply with the law to give their employees their 13th month pay. But employers must pass certain criteria to receive help. Mirasol Abogadil will tell us why.
Employers agree that it is their obligation to give the 13th month pay of their employees. But according to Department of Labor and Employment Undersecretary Benjo Benavides, some employers are asking for assistance because they don't have the resources to do so. During Dole's tripartite Industrial Peace Council meeting with representatives from the Business Owners Association and Workers Union, they came up with possible options to help distressed business owners. These include deferment of the 13th month pay, granting an exemption to qualified business owners, and subsidy from the government. But according to Yusek Benavides, the employers should pass a certain criteria before they can receive help. One is that a business had suffered at least 50% loss in the past 3 business quarters.
Kung ikaw ay nagsasabing distressed employer ka, patunayan mo na ikaw ay distressed employer. At isa po sa mga prosesong iyon ay magpunta po sila sa Department of Labor and Employment at a-approval po yung kanilang application.
According to Dole, they will announce the final decision in the coming days, assuring that they are taking the necessary steps to expedite the process. Mirasol Abugadil, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, in Nagilian, La Union Province, home videoke party will be prohibited effective October 19. Executive Order Number 58-2020 of the Nagilian local government bans the use of videoke Mondays through Saturdays. Residents may use videoke machines only on Sundays and holidays, 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. Mass gatherings without permission from the barangay are also not allowed. Gambling, betting, drinking spree, as well as the use of noise-making devices are also banned. The order aims to help students focus on their studies under DepEd's blended learning system.
The DENR slams UP Institute for Biology for commenting that mangrove trees should be planted along the shoreline of Manila Bay instead of placing dolomite sand. Although environment officials welcome the offer of UP scientists to help in rehabilitating Manila Bay, but their service must be for free. Joanano explains why.
After days of downpour, the dolomite sand dumped in Manila Bay can be seen to be seemingly washed out. Earlier today, Environment Secretary Roy Simato and Chief Justice Diosdado Peralta made a surprise inspection in the white sand area. Chief Justice Peralta initiated the inspection as part of Supreme Court's duty to check the status of some of the government's projects. The DNR explains that the dolomite sand was not washed out. Instead, black sand was washed in as thick as 2 to 3 inches.
Nakita po, na puro kasinungalingan po yung lumabas na nag-wash out po yung white sand natin. Ang nangyari po talaga is wash in, Pumasok po yung itim na buhangin at pumatong doon sa white dolomite.
The DNR also slams UP Institute for Biology for their comment that mangrove trees should be planted along the shoreline of Manila Bay instead of placing dolomite sand. The DNR explains this move is not feasible.
Put it in the middle of the baywalk area wherein it will destroy the landscape, hindi po magandang tingnan. And at the same time, hindi po mabubuhay dito sa lugar na to yung pong mangrove. Doon po sa mga nagkokomento, baka pwede hong magtanong muna sila sa DNR bago po sila magkomento.
The DNR welcomes the offer of UP scientists to help in rehabilitating Manila Bay, but their service must be for free. Yusek Antiporda also lashed out at UP for charging the government ₱500 million for the development of a project, but no infrastructure was built.
Base po sa pag-aaral ng inyong lingkod, kalahating bilyon po ang binayaran namin sa kanila simula 2016 hanggang taong ito. Kalahating bilyon na puro lang po konsultasyon. Wala pong infrastructure, wala lahat. Hindi nyo karapatang batikusin ito dahil bayaran kayo.
In a statement yesterday, the UP Institute of Biology said that they are against laying out dolomite white sand in Manila Bay, highlighting that its rehabilitation project should be science-based. Johanano, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
With 23 affirmative votes, the senators unanimously passed on third and final reading the proposed bill seeking to grant the president emergency powers to address red tape. Just before this, President Duterte certified the measure as urgent. Senate Bill number 1844 seeks to authorize the president to expedite the processing and issuance of permits, licenses, and certifications in times of national emergencies. It will also give the president the power to suspend or waive requirements. The measure also reiterates the constitutional power of the president to suspend or remove any government official or employee who are involved in bureaucratic red tape. Meanwhile, some lawmakers have expressed concern over the alleged influx of foreign workers in some of the government infrastructure projects. In today's Senate hearing on the proposed 2021 budget of the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, Senator Kiko Pangilinan asked if the employment of foreign workers is a condition set in foreign-funded projects. DPWH Secretary Mark Villan answered, "It is not a condition, but some projects require the technical skills and specialization of foreign workers." According to Villar, majority of workers in government infrastructure projects are Filipinos. According to DPWH USEC Emil Sadain, the agency has no Chinese loan contracts as of the moment, but it has 2 existing grant package contracts employing Chinese workers. The Estrella Pantaleon Bridge project that has 69% Filipino workers and 31% Chinese workers, while the Binondo Intramuros Bridge project is composed of 55% Filipino workers and 45% Chinese workers. But this percentage of Chinese workers is still high, according to Senator Pangilinan. The lawmaker said the department should prioritize the hiring of Filipino workers over foreign workers to help address joblessness in the country caused by the pandemic. He also noted that the construction industry registered the largest drop in employment during the second quarter of the year, with 30%.
Let's double check kasi madaling sabihin technical eh. Madaling sabihin these are technical matters. Baka naman dahil ang dadali nilang mga materyales at kung anumang equipment puro Chinese. Baka pati yung ganong klaseng mga negotiation dapat tingnan natin para i-prioritize natin yung 39% na walang trabaho sa ating mga kababayan.
Secretary Villar vowed that they will push for more jobs for Filipinos and support local manufacturers in their infrastructure projects.
We will always be one in this desire to increase the job creation in our country, and we will only allow foreign work if absolutely necessary for certain technical skills.
Meanwhile, Senate Majority Leader Miguel Zubiri expressed alarm over a Supreme Court ruling that allows the entry of foreign contractors for construction projects in the country. Zubiri fears this would displace local contractors and affect the hiring of Filipino workers. The senator is planning to file a measure that seeks to limit the participation of foreign contractors and foreign personnel. Villar vows to support the planned measure to help boost and modernize the local construction industry.
Starting November 2, vehicles without radio frequency identification, or RFID, will not be permitted to ply the South Luzon Expressway and the Skyway. According to Skyway Operations and Maintenance Corporation, or SOMCO, they will fully implement the use of RFID on their expressways beginning next month. SOMCO President Manuel Bonoan explains that all transactions on their expressways will be cashless through the use of RFID. SOMCO aims to comply with the Transportation Department's order to implement cashless payments in order to curb the spread of COVID-19.
So in other words, ang kwan po nito, hindi na po tayo tatanggap ng cash pagpasok sa tollways, no? Lahat po nito ay yung electronic toll collection system na ang ipaiiro natin through RFID.
Meanwhile, the Transportation Department
As the IATF eases the physical distancing rules on public transport, DOTR Secretary Arthur Tugade orders the resumption of the operation of additional units and routes of public utility vehicles.
So asahan natin ang sa mga susunod na araw.
Meanwhile, DOTR reiterates that resumption of motorcycle taxi operations depends on the decision of the Congress and not of the agency. Secretary Tugade assures that they will support the continuation of the pilot study for motorcycle taxis once a congressional resolution is released legalizing the operation of motorcycle taxis. Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Now, here's a glimpse of what's the weather like in parts of the country. Tropical Depression Ophel continues to move towards Marinduque-Romblon area while maintaining its strength. State Weather Bureau Pagasa says it is likely to emerge over the West Philippine Sea tomorrow morning and exit the Philippine area of responsibility on Friday morning or afternoon. Ophel is forecast to remain a tropical depression while crossing the southern Luzon area. However, this weather disturbance is forecast to intensify into a tropical storm after emerging over the West Philippine Sea. Ophel will bring rains with gusty winds over Bicol region, Calabarzon, Mindoro provinces, Marinduque, and Romblon. This may bring possible flash floods or landslides due to moderate to heavy rains and may also cause very light to light damage to structures and vegetation due to strong winds. Meanwhile, the combined effects of Ophel and the southwest monsoon or hanging habagat will bring cloudy skies with scattered rain showers and thunderstorms over Visayas, Mindanao, Metro Manila, Cagayan Valley, Cordillera Administrative Region, Central Luzon, and Palawan, while the rest of Luzon will experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers due to localized thunderstorms. Gale warning is in effect over the seaboards of Batanes and Ilocos Norte and the northern seaboard of Cagayan, including Babuyan Group of Islands.
The Philippine National Police leadership transfers more than 2,000 policemen and women to their own regions. The PNP chief also sends a warning to politicians who will use these cops in illegal activities. Our police correspondent Leah Ilagan will tell us why.
Under the PNP localization program, 2,222 policemen were sent off today in Camp Crame for their reassignment to their hometowns. PNP Chief Police General Camilo Cascolan said they want to boost the morale and welfare of their men to work with motivation. They will also be ashamed to get involved in any illegal activities in their regions.
In so doing, we know that their performance will go high, their morale will be boosted, and the welfare of the family will be taken care of.
Cascolan also added it is an advantage because the policemen know the terrain in the areas where they grew up. During the send-off, some policemen went emotional because they will be reunited with their family.
Sana po magbigyan ako. Ayaw ko po umiyak. Kasi gusto ko lang rin talaga mabuhay yung pamilya namin. Kasi 3 years na rin po ako naglakad ng request for transfer sa Manila.
Ako po, sir, ay nagpasalamat sa inyong programa. Malaki po ito maitulong sa akin, sir, at sa aking pamilya. Hindi na po ako babiyahe ng malayo sa tuwing ako ay papunta sa shooting. Bilang tansi, sir, iyapin ko pong bisyuhan ang ating mga bayan.
But General Cascolan warned police officers who will engage in illegal activities.
Be sure that you will do your job well. There's no more reason for you to be waylaid. Because what we will be doing here is once you are transferred to your areas of residence or near your residence, at nagkamali pa rin kayo, gumawa pa rin kayo ng mga kalokohan nyo, I think there's no more chance for you. We need to dismiss you.
Cascolan also has these words for politicians who will go against their localization program and who will use policemen in their illegal activities.
We will not do this if we have not studied this or researched on it. No, we will not do this if we have not even experienced it. No. There are a lot of things that we people do not know. Yan parating nasa isip natin, i-transfer natin. Bakit lahat pa ng pulis dyan sa politiko na nag-iisa? Di mag-away sila. Gusto lang magpatayo sila dyan. But that will never happen. It will never happen because we have a lot more forces than the politicians. If the politicians will violate the law, then we have no choice but to arrest them.
Policemen who have pending cases will not be a part of the localization program. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand.
The British Embassy in Bangkok has announced that Thailand has agreed to manufacture and supply AstraZeneca's experimental COVID-19 vaccine domestically and for other nations in the Southeast Asian region. Scientists at the University of Oxford developed the potential vaccine AZD1222, and they would work with Siam Bioscience to set up manufacturing facilities according to Thailand's Ministry of Public Health. Satitpong Sukvimol, chairman of Siam Bioscience, said that the company was aiming to have the first batch of vaccines available in the middle of next year. Public Health Minister Anutin Charnvirakul said that he was glad that Thailand was chosen by AstraZeneca and has announced the government support for the distribution of the vaccines to neighboring countries. A U.S. infectious disease expert warns of an autumn surge of new cases and deaths in the U.S. due to a resurgent COVID-19. Sonny Cos from California, USA will tell us why.
Get ready to hunker down. This is the warning of Dr. Peter Hotez, Dean of the National School of Tropical Medicine in Baylor College of Medicine, about the impending resurgence of cases of COVID-19 in the U.S. this coming winter season.
According to Dr. Hotez, the lowest point of cases in the country was in early September with around 35,000 new cases a day. But today, new cases are back to 50,000 per day and should continue to rise as flu season arrives. The University of Washington's Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation projects that more than 135,000 people in the country could die within the next 3 months. Already, the new cases are in the increase in northern Midwest and northern states such as Wisconsin, Montana, and the Dakotas. Across the country, more than 30 states reported an increase of new cases compared to the previous week, according to Johns Hopkins University. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the country's top infectious disease expert, warned that certain state test positivity rates could be a good indicator that steeper climb in cases rates are coming.
Currently, the U.S. has an average of 5.1% positivity test, but this figure is above 10% in other states, such as Alabama, Florida, Iowa, Idaho, Kansas, Indiana, Montana, Nebraska, South Dakota, Nevada, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. According to Dr. Fauci, the average should be less than 3%. Sonny Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, USA. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The state of New South Wales in Australia maintains its original plans of easing some restrictions in spite of continued community transmission. Our New South Wales correspondent, Early Briones, will tell us why live. Early?
The state of New South Wales, Australia is in the verge of following Victoria as community transmission continues, but the state government maintains its original plans of easing some restrictions. The New South Wales government made an announcement yesterday that easing of hospitality restrictions will continue as planned on Friday, October 16. Up to 500 people are allowed to gather in an open-air venue as long as they are seated and has 4 meters distance. Outdoor dining restrictions will also be eased with 1 customer per 2 square meters. But dining venues must use QR code system to record the customer's details for tracking purposes in case of an outbreak. On the other hand, New South Wales neighboring state Victoria, though having almost the same level of COVID-19 infection in the recent weeks with New South Wales, continues with its tough restrictions. Victoria Chief Health Officer Brett Sutton said that Victoria's situation is profoundly different from other states and territories, referring to the density of community hit in the second wave, making it more challenging to conduct contact tracing. The original roadmap announced by Victoria Premier Daniel Andrews would have seen the removal of 5 kilometers radius limit per household, as well as reopening of hospitality and some household social bubbles. But the 14-day rolling average of 9.6 is still far from the state's target of only 5 new cases before October 19, and now looks to be mathematically impossible to achieve. Kat?
Thank you, Early Briones, for those updates from New South Wales. Also, nearly 3/4 of Indian Americans plan to vote for Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden in the U.S. presidential election in November. A recent survey says those Indian Americans believe the country is headed in the wrong direction under President Donald Trump. Indian Americans, the second largest immigrant group in the United States, make up less than 1% of registered voters for the November 3 election. The survey, a collaboration between the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, Johns Hopkins SAIS, and the University of Pennsylvania, covered 936 Indian Americans. It was conducted between September 1st and September 20th in partnership with Gov't. Meanwhile, Australia joins NASA and other partner countries on international cooperation for space exploration. Joining us tonight is one of our correspondents in Australia, Marvy Dolphin, to tell us why live. Marvy?
Kath, Australia, along with 7 other countries, have joined NASA's new unified plan for a legal framework for space exploration. The Artemis Accords, named after the U.S. Space Agency's program to land astronauts on the moon by 2024, were signed by Australia, U.S., UK, Canada, Japan, Luxembourg, Italy, and the United Arab Emirates. NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine said Artemis will be the broadest and most diverse international human space exploration program in history, and the Artemis Accords are the vehicle that will establish the singular global coalition. He added that with the signing, they are establishing vital principles that will create a safe, peaceful, and prosperous future in space for all of humanity to enjoy. Through Artemis, NASA aims to achieve a sustainable lunar surface settlement with its partner nations by 2028 as a stepping stone to the first human mission to Mars. The Accords seeks to build on existing international space law and ensure a strong mutual understanding of safe operations, use of space resources, minimizing orbital debris, and sharing of scientific discoveries and data. Kath, major space powers China and Russia were not among the signatories, as the Congress banned NASA's ability to collaborate with China, though NASA hopes more countries will eventually join. Kath?
Marvy, it's quite inspiring to see Australia now harnessing the best of its intellectual and innovative capabilities through this Moon to Mars initiative. While other countries are keen to also sign this deal with NASA, some are unsure on the other hand because of this time of uncertainty. Can you talk about Australia's commitment?
Kath, as we look at economic recovery during and after this COVID-19 pandemic, the Australian space industry will be an important enabler of other essential Australian industries. Anthony Murfett, deputy head of the Australian Space Agency, said the Australian government is investing $150 million for Australian businesses and researchers to join NASA's endeavour and investment here in Australia and deliver key capabilities for missions through participation in international supply chains. As you have mentioned, Kath, and NASA's Administrator Bridenstine confirmed, there are many other nations that are not only interested in the Artemis Accords, but anxious to sign. Countries all around the world would have to go through their own interagency processes to be able to sign onto the accords. These first 8 countries are the ones that were able to get through the interagency processes the quickest. Kath?
All right, Marvy, it's great to have Australia on board this exciting space journey. Thank you for that live report. And those are the reasons behind the news here in Thailand and in other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you, Kath Dumaraos, reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand.
And those are the reasons behind the news, October 14, 2020. I am Jorlene Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.